Hello, everyone, and welcome to our new edition of the Ottawa International Book and Handicraft Expo, the biggest Canadian and bilingual book expo where you meet amazing authors, book publishers, artists, and entrepreneurs. So, our event this year is from the March 3rd to March the 5th at the Horticulture Building at Lansdowne Park at Ottawa. So, we are waiting for you. I want to take that opportunity to thank WPBS TV Watertown, New York as a media partner, the maplestaple.com to be our event partner, and of course, Epoch Times to be our media sponsor. Thank you all for being with us in that incredible new edition of the Ottawa International Book and Handicraft Expo. And today, my guest, he has an incredible, rewarding journey and career. So let's start. He attended McMaster University on a 4-year scholarship with a regular officer's training plan. He graduated with a degree and officer's commissions. He joined Princess Patricias Canadian Light Infantry and became actually the first Princess Patricias Canadian Light Infantry officer to become a vice-regal aide-de. As I said, there's so much to say actually. As I said, he has an incredible career and he was rewarding for many achievements. Let me just highlight this one. He received the Amethyst Award, the province's highest award to recognize outstanding achievements by public servants, and this was to recognize his key role in the Provincial Operations Center during the ice storm of January 1998. So there's a lot to recognize him. There's a lot. But now he's president of his own consulting firm, The Great Communication Secrets, and an author. And we are here to talk about his amazing books. Welcome, Bruce Stock, and thank you for being here with us. How are you doing?
Oh, very well. Thank you, Ursula. Great to be with you.
We are happy that you are here with us. So as I said, we will talk about your journey as an author, as a writer. So first, you wrote Sleeping at Rideau Hall, right? Which is a behind-the-scenes memoir at Rideau Hall. And I would like just to tell a little story very fast because you sent a copy to then Governor General David Johnston in late 2014. And in January 2015, you received a handwritten note from His Excellency thanking you for the work you've done. That's pretty impressive. I really like that story. That must be like very impressive to receive this handwritten note. You also wrote Pure BS. I love the title, honestly, and it deals with your story as a soldier, a communicator, a mentor, veteran. Well, as you as an author also. And now you wrote a baseball novel. Let's talk about it. Well, you wrote two books, but let's talk about the first one, Switch Pitcher. It's very original because it deals with a baseball player, right? Exactly. I love it. And your character has like great capabilities, right? He has incredible abilities. He has a great eyesight. He's a switch pitcher, actually. Can you tell us more about the story, about your character? I love it. Switch pitcher. Perfect. Here we go.
Thanks very much, Ursula. It's a story of a 5-year-old boy who, when he was a baby, playing with his college athlete parents on the floor, rolling things around, they saw that sometimes he did it with his right arm and sometimes with his left arm. And they suddenly realized, my goodness, our child is ambidextrous. So they decided they'd like to do something about that, but they knew they had to wait until he was old enough to understand what they were proposing. So when he was 5 years old, they asked Carter if he would like to do something that nobody in the world had ever done before. So obviously he was quite interested with that. And he said yes. And they said, well, okay, if you want to, Carter, Mom and Dad will teach you how to throw a baseball with both arms. And he said, whoa, boy. So they said, okay, so then if we're going to do that together, there's only one rule. And that is that you can throw as many balls as you want to Mom or Dad. but you can throw 10 or 100, but never from the same side twice. So as a result, he grew up throwing with both arms, and he developed the musculature on both sides of his body that's necessary to become an effective pitcher. And in his early 20s, he ended up breaking into the major leagues, and lo and behold, the batters couldn't hit him. Mm-hmm. And he turned the game of baseball upside down. So that's the essence of that story.
What did you inspire to write about it, actually? Why did you write about this story?
As a youngster going to baseball games in the gold mine league up in Timmins with my father, I saw that they had switch hitters, they had switch hitters, but they never had switch pitchers. And I just kept wondering why. And it took my brain a long time to get around to the realization that it was all the story of musculature. And so I decided, because nobody had ever written about it before, that would be a good idea. And that's how I got started.
That's very interesting. And well, I don't know much about baseball, right? So I found your story very interesting because I didn't know actually there was not a lot of switch pitchers, but it is obvious that it's not that easy to develop, both sides to pitch a ball. That's pretty interesting. And talking about your character, can you tell us more about his character, his behavior, and how his development throughout the story? How he developed. You told us that his parents helped him, right, to develop his talents. But he's not only a switch pitcher, he has great eyesight. Why? Can you tell us more about him?
Yes, well, when he was 13, his parents discovered that he had 20/5 eyesight. And that means that he can see from 20 feet what a person with normal vision can see from 5 feet. So when he's standing on the pitcher's mound looking at the batter, he can see every single pore on the nervous batter's face, and that's part of the fuel that drives him. And of course, the flip side of that is that when he's in the batter's box for his turn at the plate, the incoming pitches from the other pitchers look like big beach balls to him, and he just waits a half second longer and smacks it out of the park every time. So he's a double threat, not only as an ambidextrous pitcher or switch pitcher, but also as a slugger. And so when he joins a team that's 15 games out of first place and starts as a relieving pitcher, he really starts to give them hope. And of course, then they end up in the World Series. Amazing. So it's quite a journey, and it's just a fabulous read, and it's got more twists and turns. The difficulty with the fan base is that everybody in baseball hates him, except for his own team, because they think he's got an unfair advantage. And the counter argument to that is, well, maybe yes, maybe no, but if you've got switch hitters, what's wrong with switch pitchers? And the answer is nothing. So he has to have a series of dangerous events unfold while he's pitching. And thankfully, he survives to make his way through to the World Series. But the plot, Ursula, has more twists and turns than a bag of baseball pretzels.
Can you tell us more about it? What can you say about the plot? Without saying too much, that our viewers can read about your book.
Well, it gets dangerous. Somebody in the stands tries to blind him with a pocket laser in one game. And in another game, a rifle is fired and just misses him. But then, of course, that's the first time that's ever happened in Major League Baseball. So the public address announcer is forced to deal with the possibility of mass panic in a stadium of 45,000 people. So he has to deal with that, as do the security people. And so it's a plot that has a lot of twists and turns to it.
That's amazing. And he's a real hero, right? He has great abilities that nobody has. He has a lot of challenges. I won't say if he go over his challenges so that to know that people have to read your book, right?
That's right. And of course, the really interesting thing about a story like this, Ursula, is that there are now 123 countries that are part of the International Federation of Baseball. So that means you have avid potential readers, not only in North America, South Korea, Japan, and across Asia. And if you count up the populations of those countries, it comes in at over 1 billion. So if I'm able to find a publisher or a movie maker that likes the plot, then that's the audience that's waiting to either read it or see it.
Amazing. So thank you for highlighting it. So if anybody, well, not anyone, but I mean, if a movie producer is coming here, well, we will leave all your information because I'm sure this story will impress a lot of people because it's very, very interesting. And, you know, like people can relate to him. And it's kind of a dream also for baseball players, you know, to be like that or to develop those abilities. It's like a dream, right? Is
It's never been written about before.
Right? Is there any baseball players, real life baseball players, who um, who inspired you, either in your life or for this book? Because you're a baseball lover, right?
That's fair. Yes. Well, there have been switch pitchers in baseball before, but they were never able to stay around very long because they hadn't developed the capability of continuing to throw with both arms. They could go for 3 or 4 innings, and that worked. But beyond that, they didn't have the capability. So I don't have what you might call a switch pitcher hero in mind. But the flip side of that, Ursula, is that the lot of the book story is told by the play-by-play announcer and the color commentator on a TV network. So they're broadcasting the games and tracking his progress as well, equally importantly, of course, as the fans' reaction to what's going on. And I've dedicated the book to Buck Martinez and Dan Schulman, who do the television broadcast for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Amazing, amazing. So this book is perfect for the athletes and fan of baseball or just fan of sports, right?
Exactly.
I love it. I love
it's a good read, and a lot of people who've read it, Ursula, tell me that it reminds them very much of Field of Dreams, and that was a famous baseball movie starring Kevin Costner in 1989. And it's become a classic, and I'm very flattered when people tell me that reading Switch Pitcher reminds them of that movie.
Oh, that's great. And for those who want to, we can read the first 50 pages of your book, right? We can go on your website. We will leave the link for people to, you know, start to discover what's the story and
right.
Yeah, and start with being in your universe.
They can download those pages at brucestock.ca.
Perfect. We will leave the link so that people can go and read about your book, like the first pages, and then buy your book. Now you have another one, Promise Kept.
Yes.
Exactly. I know you have the other cap. I love it. Promise Kept. It's another kind of story, totally different from Switch Pitcher, right?
Exactly.
Perfect. Here you go.
I referred to it, Ursula, as the story that Canada never expected. And that's because, if I may, it's the story of how Canada's veterans who are totally disenchanted with the way Canada is stumbling around decide to form their own political party. And so they have to do a lot of research to figure out how that works, of course. And they know that at some point they're going to have to elect the president of the party. So next summer in Winnipeg, they have their very first national conference. And on the second ballot, they elect an Algonquin woman who's also an ex-fighter pilot to be the party's new president. And when those results are announced, everybody goes crazy because they realize that as the president of the new party, if the party's able to win the next federal election in 2025, then she'll become the first female Indigenous prime minister. And they think that's a mission that they can accomplish, and they just love it.
And you refer as this story as a controversial, right, story.
Yes.
Why or what did you inspire you to write a controversial story or to reverse like the story of Canada? I'm very curious.
Well, I think as a starting out writer, how's that for a clumsy expression? But as a writer looking for a good formula for a novel, controversy, of course, means that it's a subject that people aren't necessarily familiar with because it may not have been written about before. And that's exactly the case with Promise Kept. Promise Kept, of course, describes the difference between politicians and veterans. Politicians, as we all know, never keep their promises, but veterans do because of their service to country. So that was the formula that I was looking for and was able to develop.
Wonderful. And the title is just perfect. It fits so perfectly with the story. And well, you talk about veterans. And as I said, you are a veteran. Well, you served the country, right? Is your experience as a veteran help you through your journey as a writer? Did it inspire you?
Oh, very much so. And the other thing that was really very important as I started writing was that I realized clearly that everything about the novel had to be authentic, or veterans would, or anybody who had any military experience whatsoever wouldn't be interested, or would look down on the quality of the novel. So I made sure, as I was writing and doing my research and asking my beta readers to give me feedback, that we emphasized authenticity. And the good news is that everybody who's read it so far really likes its authenticity, and it's true to the role and the values that veterans hold.
Amazing. And for a new author who would like, to write about something, let's say, controversial, with like different themes, different characters and settings, or like a bit complex, like the story, the history of a country, as you did with Promise Kept, what would be an advice that you can share, that you received? What would be the best advice you can give for those kind of stories?
Okay, Ursula, help me clarify that question just a little bit, because
Sure.
it has some potential to go in different directions. So why don't you try it again and let me take care of it.
Sure. Like Promise Kept, as I say, like it's rewriting the story. Well, it's in the future, but it's rewriting the story of a country, like something totally not expected. So it's kind of a complex setting, a complex story. For a new author who would like to write something as complex as Promise Kept, but at the same time so interesting, what would be an advice you can give for a new writer who would like to write about those kind of settings?
So thanks very much. That's a great clarification. Well, I'm reluctant to advise any writer about how to succeed. However, to deal with the issue head on, being controversial is a decent formula. That makes sense because it helps acquire interested readers. But what you also have to do is you have to be true to yourself. You have to be comfortable with the subject that is controversial, and you have to be satisfied that you're treating it fairly and with some what's the word, I guess respect is the better descriptor, so that as that controversy develops, that it makes sense not only to you and you're comfortable with it, but also to your readers.
Amazing. Thank you for that. And what was the most rewarding part of writing Promise Kept? How did you feel writing this story?
Well, the most rewarding part is the main character, Rachel Kennedy. She's the Algonquin woman who's the ex-fighter pilot. And it turns out she's just absolute dynamite. One of my beta readers told me, he said, Bruce, that Rachel, she's a pistol. And of course that sums it up beautifully. But she, I guess when you're used to traveling at 700 miles an hour, you're not afraid of too many things in life. And as the leader of a new political party that's trying to save Canada from a steady downward decline, that means that she's going to have to address issues to prevent the country from sliding that she may never ever have imagined before. But because of that courage and that intelligence and the phenomenal leadership she has, what happens during the course of the campaign to the 2025 election is that so many people fall in love with Rachel that Rachel mania breaks out. And we haven't seen a case of that since Trudeau mania back in the late 60s. So that's the sort of influence she has. And she puts her finger on a major weakness in our current political structure, and that is partisanship. And she thinks that partisanship is not helping, that in fact it's almost poisoning the system. So she has to figure a way how to deal with that her fellow MPs understand and embrace, that will then be presented to the Canadian public in such a way is that they understand it well enough to want to be able to vote for the party in 2025. So that's how the plot starts to unfold in volume 1. So stay tuned, folks.
Amazing.
It's only volume 1.
That's awesome. And it's not that easy because writing about politics, about like the changes, especially in politics, it could be touchy, but you do it in a way that we fall into that universe, and it's amazing. Like it really helps to imagine a new way of living, and people can relate to that because politics is in a lot of conversations, right? And I love how you twisted the story, the plot, and like development of the character. And I'm thrilled to learn that there will be a Tom 2 actually. So do you have another project? Expect the Tom 2? Is there anything else you're working on that we can expect soon?
Well, yeah, when you write a novel and it's only volume 1, you better have some other storylines ready. So I've identified storylines for the next 3 volumes. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Next 3 volumes. Amazing. So we can order our books on your website. So as I said, we will leave the link so that people can go directly and learn more about your amazing books. I mean, that's awesome, to have different kinds of stories, and I love the way you bringing that to us. So thank you so much to share your talent with us, Bruce. Thank you all for watching us today. As I said, we are waiting for you at the International Ottawa Book Expo and Handicraft, Book and Handicraft Expo. It will be at the Horticulture Building at Lansdowne Park at Ottawa from March the 3rd to March the 5th. Thank you so much again, Bruce, and thank you all for watching us.
It was a delight, and thank you and the viewers very much.
Thank you.